Hi class, we're going to be continuing on with the catalog today. So reading assignment is to get through page 54 and we'll talk about academic policies and college policies in this lecture. Academic standards policies, it's based on a 2.0 GPA or C average, so one must meet that minimum GPA to transfer or to receive a degree. So what this means essentially is even if you've taken all of the required courses for graduation or transfer, you're not able to unless that GPA is a 2.0 or higher. And a little review from our last lecture, again, how to calculate GPA, number of grade points for the class divided by the number of units. Okay. So there are two types of academic probation. Okay, one type is GPA, and again, that's if a student has taken 12 or more units at the college and their GPA is below 2.0. Okay. Satisfactory academic progress, SAP, is when your completion rate in courses is less than 50%. And of course, this can affect you in terms of enrolling in classes, but also with financial aid and scholarships. So how do you get out of academic probation? Well, you can get your GPA up over 2.0 and get your completion rate over that 50%. Those are the basic keys. Sounds simple, right? Dismissal is when in 2 semesters in a row, student's GPA is below 1.75 and the number of units that a student has attempted with a W, an incomplete, no pass, or non-credit is over 50%. So again, if a student has more than 50% W's, incompletes, no pass, or non-credit, then they're under dismissal. Okay, so what's really important is in these cases, if a student falls into this situation, the recommendation is to attend that reinstatement workshop. And in these reinstatement workshops, they're really designed to help students figure out what was the problem that got the student there in the first place and strategies to help. Okay, some of these things may be as basic as student might be working too many hours and taking too many units. So the student can decide, okay, maybe I need to work less hours or take less units if I'm working this much. Other strategies will be perhaps to take classes like this, like Counseling 120. Later in the semester, we'll learn about time management and study skills and good note-taking. There are also shorter courses like study skills, for example, where students can learn those note-taking skills specifically and time management to help them. In the meeting with the counselor, the student is going to talk about what happened, what led them there, and what's really important is how will those, what actions will be taken to change. So when one does this with a counselor, the counselor will usually do a plan with the student and discuss whether or not the student can continue. In most cases, they will allow the student to continue, but likely that student will be limited in terms of enrollment, or they will have recommended classes that they'll take. So for example, if I were a student again, and perhaps I had failed Psychology 100 in the meeting, and I'm a psychology major, or if I'm a nursing major where that course is absolutely required, I'll meet with my counselor. My counselor will usually recommend that I retake that class, and we'll put that in the ed plan. The good thing is that if you do retake a course and successfully pass it, the old course will still show up on your transcript, but the GPA will be replaced by the better grade, of course. Okay, so all of these petitions for reinstatement are going to be reviewed, and students will be notified, yes, you can continue to take classes, or you know what, we might recommend that you only take 1 to 3 classes, or maybe you need a break this semester and then you can come back. So academic renewal, this is something that's really fantastic as an option for students. If you have previously substandard performance in classes and you've taken more than a certain amount of units at the college, you have the chance to use academic renewal to help with grade alleviation, essentially, right? So academic renewal is useful in a lot of different situations. Maybe there was a time in your life that you were going through a lot or were balancing a lot and your grades didn't go so well. You can use academic renewal to eliminate those grades from being calculated in your GPA. One good area to use academic renewal that I've seen with students is maybe you were in a major that wasn't a good fit previously, and your grades were substandard, and you don't ever plan to retake those courses. Academic renewal is a good option. So other than retaking a course for a better grade, if you don't ever plan to take a course again, academic renewal may be an option. And you can see the eligibility here. Again, if you've done 9 units with a GPA of 3.5 or higher, you're eligible. You can see the more units you take, the lower the GPA requirement is to qualify for academic renewal. Again, this is going to be something where the substandard grades will show on the transcript, but will be considered renewed and not calculated in terms of the GPA for admission to universities for transfer and towards graduation and certificates. So again, academic renewal may be an option over, say, course repetition. Just depends on the situation. What we recommend is that you meet with your counselor about what is the best fit for your particular situation. So we'll continue with academic renewal. Just some details is academic renewal is only eligible at the college for courses that are taken within the district, okay? So again, you can't do academic renewal, say if you had classes from San Francisco State that show up on your transcript that might have been substandard. You'd have to apply for academic renewal with San Francisco State in that situation. There is an actual petition required for academic renewal, which is available on the forms page for admissions and records. Remember that even though you do academic renewal, that is still counted as an attempt for a course, okay? And we'll talk about course attempts today in this lecture. But again, it doesn't mean that class is completely eliminated in terms of attempts. So again, you can still only attempt courses 3 times in a district, and you can that includes withdrawals, academic renewals, and substandard grades. Again, the academic renewal notice, if you are approved, it will be noted on the transcript next to those substandard grades to not include in the GPA. Okay. Attendance regulations. This is key. And a big part of student success in general. Again, attendance is more than half the battle for most students in most classes. So regular attendance is absolutely required. And again, will give you the best opportunity to succeed academically, right? So if you are unable to attend a class or classes, it's really important to be proactive in terms of communicating with your instructor. So if there's a personal emergency, if there's an illness, better to play it safe. So as soon as you're able to, be sure to communicate with with the instructor and see what can be done. See if maybe you may have to withdraw from the class, or you might get a medical withdrawal, or be able to drop without consequence. But again, attendance is really key. You'll see it in a lot of courses that it will be a determining factor in your grade. So again, there are some cases where there are extended absences. For example, perhaps a death in the family, or if one has an accident or a medical emergency. Again, most instructors in the college is very open to supporting the students, but it's important, again, to communicate and work with your instructor, as well as, if needed, health services and the counseling office, okay? Okay. So there are some limitations. Open enrollment, students who are eligible, which you saw on the last slide, who are eligible and meet prerequisites can take classes. There are some limitations. You cannot take identical courses within the district. So for example, here in the fall semester 2019, you can't be in Math 200 statistics at CSM and at Kenyatta at the same time. Okay, so that's a limitation to open enrollment, even if you meet the prerequisite for statistics. Students also may not enroll in classes that overlap. If there are exceptions made, those have to be done with approval. So there is a form that must be signed by each instructor and submitted to admissions and records to show that. So there may be some cases where, okay, there's a 5-minute overlap between classes where and you might need the class for graduation. That might be a situation that might be considered, for example. But generally speaking, you're prohibited in registering for classes that overlap each other in terms of time, because you'd be missing time in class, essentially. Okay, course repetition we talked about. Again, 3 is the magic number in terms of the number of times you attempt. Again, this includes W's from the course, okay? It includes substandard grades, and then if you pass a class, generally speaking, you cannot repeat it after you've passed it with a C or higher.